Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of the Evil Mojo Podcast. We're here for the month of June now. It's already been a month since our last one, since our first episode, which is pretty crazy to think about when you're kind of going on that. It's been a solid 4 or 5-ish weeks in this lovely quarantine life. As you guys, I'm sure, can see, we're still doing this show from home. We're still practicing quarantine and making sure we're staying safe and everyone is isolated, keeping everything in, doing their part to make sure that we can get through this whole thing as fast as possible. And, you know, before we get into a little bit of business and introduce our lovely guest, I'm sure you're seeing on the far side there, I do want to do a little bit of housekeeping for you guys. So just in case you missed the news or missed some stuff on Twitter, we are now available as an audio podcast on iTunes and Spotify. Woohoo, right? Big deal.
Yay.
So you guys may see us live here, right? While we're doing the show live, you may see us on YouTube as a video podcast, but we are also now available on iTunes and Spotify. So if you just look up the Evil Mojo Podcast, you'll see our episodes there and you can listen to them in your ears when you're walking from your bed to your desk on your commute to work every morning. So good times for everybody.
It's a tough commute. It's a tough commute.
It is. It is a tough commute, you know, filled with a lot of thought as you do your 20-something steps. Maybe some of you walk up steps. I don't know. I'm personally on a 1 floor.
That's a whole other level, you know?
I guess we should introduce ourselves. You made a whole other level joke, and I just now processed that. So well done. Well done. Oh. It took me a minute. I was just in host mode. That's good. I like that. So, you know, speaking of, right, you guys know me. I'm Nicholas Bayshore, otherwise known as Valence. I'm one of the community managers here at Evil Mojo. And over to my side here, we have Hi-Rez Nico, also known as Kevin. How you doing today, man?
You know, I'm doing pretty well. The time is flowing together, so I don't know what time or day it is, but I'm still doing my thing and hanging in there. My name is Kevin Reedon. I am a game designer at Evil Mojo, and I am very excited, as usual, to be part of this podcast. Episode 2. Yeah, because I have a blast with it, so I'm loving it.
The big 2. I mean, I consider it a big 2. So we're pretty. And speaking of, for the big 2, the second episode of this podcast, we have a very special guest joining us. You guys may know him from shows like My Hero Academia, Red vs. Blue, Black Clover, Dr. Stone, Fire Force. I could keep going, but we'll just let the man introduce himself. Welcome, Ricco, the voice of Corvus. Thanks for joining us, man.
What's up, guys? Thank you for having me. This is the most social interaction I've had during this pandemic in a while. So I'm delighted to be talking to other humans, albeit through the digital waves. So yeah.
Perfect, man. Perfect. Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. So Rico's going to be with us today. We're going to talk a lot about Corvus, voice acting, how we go into that process from both sides. But before we do that, guys, I've got to ask, Ricco, we'll start with you on this one. How are you doing with this whole working from home situation, man?
Oh, holy smokes. I mentioned this to some friends before. I think we gamers, I say that confidently knowing that whoever's listening to this or watching this is a gamer as well. We've been preparing for this, kind of like Bane to Batman. You know?
Yeah.
You just discovered streaming. I was born in it. So
yeah.
I got my gear. I got my webcam. Totally. I got my monitors. I have like my rig. All like my gaming stuff has now become my workstation, which is awesome. And I know there are a lot of folks online who try to order stuff and it's like all out of stock. Like people have been en masse trying to get things and like you cannot. So I feel really grateful that I guess I was already kitted out before all this went down.
Prepped
How about you guys?
Prepped for it. It's been interesting for me. I mean, like you, right? I had a lot of the same equipment, the webcam, the microphone, all that stuff from having to stream in the past. I used to be a streamer on Twitch. And so it was kind of surreal to pull all that gear out again. I never thought I would, you know, and get back on camera and do a lot of the shows on camera. But working from home has honestly been pretty great. I think the big thing for me is just wanting to go outside. I always look to my window and I want to go out there.
So nice.
Remembering to take walks, you know, that sort of stuff, instead of
let me
constantly
out.
Having Right. Like just every time, man. Like my blinds are closed right now for the sake of lighting for the show. And let me tell you, it's hurting me a little bit.
I have to ask you guys, have you gone full day. Like I know as gamers, we've gone full days. Like you crack open a new game and you're like, you don't see the light of day. Not because you can't, not because of pandemic, but like, have you gone a full day of like just not going outside?
Oh man.
Yes.
When was the last time? When was the last time you did, Kevin? When was the last time before pandemic?
That I went outside,
obviously,
or that I didn't go outside?
That you didn't go outside.
Most weekends, to be honest, I'm a homebody for the most part. I'm a homebody, so when I come home from work, I'll go grab some lunch or something, but for the most part, I stay indoors. But it's been a lot worse since the stay at home thing. I have not been good about reminding myself to take walks. So I've gone like weeks where the only time I've gone outside has been like once to get groceries or something. Which
man,
let me tell you, not a good thing. I crave the sunlight.
And when you go to the grocery store, like people, and I get it. Everyone's trying to protect each other. Like, and I'm happy to wear my mask and, be all like, social distancing. But there's always just this energy of like, please stay out of my bubble. Yeah. Like, and everyone's, like, yeah, stay away. And just that energy, I think in general is like something that I am not akin to. Being an actor, I'm a hugger. Right. I like to get in there. I like to, shake the hand. I like, how are you? It's good to see you. Get like this close to your grill. And now it's like, that's my toilet paper. Give me that toilet paper. I'm out.
Yeah. Oh man, it's so true. It's so true. That's one thing that like I personally didn't like process until my first like grocery trip out, after quarantine, where it was like, all right, all the toilet paper's gone because, that's the most important thing to keep yourself safe, apparently. And moving past that, right, everyone's keeping your distance. And I'm the same as you, Ricco. I want to high five people. I want to handshake people, all that sort of stuff. And then, all right, 6 feet, we're staying safe. That was hard for me too. But, we're all getting through it, right? So that's what matters.
Oh,
and
like the mental, I think something that we got to consider is like your mental health, right? Like absolutely. I can relate to like we've only just met, but like I'm a pretty high energy dude. I like to go out and be active. Like things have started opening back up here in Texas, and I'm like kind of nervous, but like I did go to the gym with my mask and like keeping a distance, and go to the grocery store now a little more, not super frequently, but like going outdoors though and absorbing sunlight. And like getting vitamin D and just feeling the wind and seeing other humans. It's important, guys, to know that you're not like, as much as we're cooped up in here, in our respective little bubbles, that we are not alone. You know what I mean? Like for your brain.
Absolutely.
100%.
Gaming's done a really great job of reminding us that that's not the case. I found myself watching more Twitch streams than usual, like crashing a lot of our Paladin streamers and hanging out with them, playing a couple games when I can, that sort of stuff. And, like you said at the start of this, Ricco, we were born for this. Like we prepped for this. Yes. We know how this works, right? So that's what's up. But, happy everyone's doing okay. And for all of you guys at home watching, listening, hope you guys are doing well too. Remember to go outside, take a walk for us today. I don't know if, maybe that's something Corvus would want you to do, but I'm sure he would. Ricco, would you say that Corvus, maybe he can tell people to go take a walk today, perhaps?
Get outside, you fools.
Perfect.
Stop sitting. It commands that you go for a walk.
You heard it here, guys. It's the magistrate decree. Go for a walk today. Tell us about it. Tweet it to that Paladins game. Have fun with it. Let us know. Share your walks.
Simon says. Corvus says. Corvus says go for a walk.
Yeah. On shelves tomorrow. Corvus says. And, man, I can't get over that joke. That's a good one. I want to see that box now. Maybe we can hide it on a map somewhere. Just a thought.
I'll do it.
But
I'll do it.
Yeah.
Listen, anything's possible. And speaking of that, let's kind of move on here. So you guys hear from myself and Kevin pretty frequently, but we have Ricco here with us today, right? And we want to hear from you, Ricco. We're gonna kick things off here. Hearing from you, good sir. So kind of going into voice acting and stuff, right? Like personally for you, tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got started and moved into that kind of voice acting career path.
Oh man, that's a long one. It all began at the beginning. I'll say that. I get this question pretty often, but I'm a theater kid. I went to school at University of California, Irvine for musical theater, and then got my master's at Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas, and that's how I'm still out here in the DFW area. When I signed with my agent and started working, grateful. Knock on. It's my guitar. Knock on wood.
Perfect.
But I gotta say. For when I hear voice acting, I'm like, it's acting, right? Like I'm used to just performing with my body, whether it's on camera, on stage. But voice acting specifically did not become a real like thing for me, vocation, which by the way, I'm very grateful for it. This is because, especially during the pandemic, what a thing to be able to do from home, to be able to like use my setup and like literally record and still like, make a living so very grateful. But all that said, I still struggle with the idea of saying like voice acting because I still feel like it's when I'm in the booth, I'm moving around and doing everything. But I will say that I got into it through, I guess it would be anime. Would be the first point of contact. My friend Brina Palencia and I were working on a movie together, and we'd done an all-night shoot. We were super tired. It was like a 12-hour long shoot, so that meant because we were doing night shoots, we were sleeping during the day. So your body clock kind of gets messed up. And I was playing guitar, hanging out, kind of all punchy, tired, and she was like, "Oh, I didn't know you sing. Did you want to go audition over at Funimation?" And I was like, "What's Funimation?" And I've watched anime my whole life. I was familiar in a kind of tertiary way, but I wound up auditioning for a show with Zach Bolton directing and my buddy Chris George engineering, who's now a director. And I booked the role. I did like a handful of lines, and then, as the years went on, I started, just leveling up, getting other gigs, auditioning for more things. And like voice work specifically started to become a more viable. It was always on the table. I feel like as an actor, you can do a variety of things, right? Like all kinds of things. Everyone's an actor is the motto, right? Because at any point, the second you're hired, you're an actor. Really though, do you know what I mean? Like it's you spend most of your time just like rehearsing and preparing for a gig when it comes up. But that's the key, is like when the gig comes up is being ready for it. So, I guess like it all started kind of like with anime and then moving into video games. And now here I am, like, 5, 6, 7 years later, just keeps going, and more that the work continues to add up, and, the XP, you keep getting more XP, you keep leveling up. And, yeah.
See,
so
that's
I'm kind of
cool,
curious.
though.
I'm kind of curious, Ricco. You mentioned video games. So, like, what's the balance between anime and video games and other things? Like, did you start? So you started off with anime. Were games kind of part of that too, or like, how do you make that transition? Do you prefer one or the other? Like, how does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, selfishly, actor brain, actor hat. I have no preference. You're just happy to act as an actor. Do you know what I mean? Like, to go out and perform is to me just the milk and honey. That's the ambrosia of it all. However, selfishly, Ricco loves video games. I love playing video games.
Here it is.
I got, like, can I show my model figure that I showed you guys? Is that okay?
By all means.
Okay, so
I'd love to see
I'm bouncing. I just started playing a game called Last of Us 2. And this is my Ellie.
So
Look
good.
at the texture on her jeans. Like, it is, I don't know if you can see that with there we go. Yeah.
I'm still jealous
Like
of
my
this
That's
thing.
so cool.
Oh, dude, it is so good. That's Ellie from Last of Us 2, which is a series I love. Naughty Dog, I've been playing their games since Sega Genesis, like back in the days. I'm also playing Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like, I love RPGs. A huge Square fan. I've been playing video games a long time, you guys, a long time, and it's a big part of my life. Favorite video game. This will help you define and understand, like, kind of as the rings on a tree of like where I came up is SNES. We call it SNES. Chrono Trigger.
Oh,
my all-time favorite.
That's
Good
the
choice.
game.
And I'm so happy you guys said that, because I said it the other day to my buddy. A while ago, I asked my buddy Aaron Disney. I was like, "Hey man, you got to play this game, Chrono Trigger. It's like my favorite. Multiple endings. Right. You know, the character design's awesome. Akira Toriyama, because like I've done work on Dragon Ball, same art design." And he was like, "Oh, Chrono Trigger. What's that?" And I was like,
"Oh no!" It looks like we have a game to play this afternoon.
Yeah, dude, but that's the thing though. Is like I understand, like, you know, the graphics in older games. Obviously, it's hard, especially for kids these days, to like appreciate kind of like that aspect of it. But when you get a game like remade, and I think that's why remakes are happening, is because there's still like some really great story elements that have been written that now, given the technology that we have available, are just, gosh, you guys, so immersive. God of War, like I just finished streaming that on my Twitch channel. I'm like on a ride. It's a cinematic ride games nowadays. Yeah. And I totally lost track of the original question you asked, but since I'm on this train, I'm going to say that I feel that being an artist, like we spend time, creating, whether it's anime, movies, or video games, but making these really great, memorable, transcendental experiences, whether it is with, you know, Ellie, Kratos, or Corvus, you know, in Paladins. There's someone out there, you know, that identifies with these characters, that has this struggle, and they're gonna, probably younger person, use it to define, you know, some of their choices in their life. And I mean, like, I know I am that way, you know, with video games. So to say preference, Ricco loves video games. I sound like a weird third person. Ricco loves video games.
You heard it here first.
From actor brain, like, again, it's just, you're grateful to be able to perform. Do you know what I mean? Just at all. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'll say in regards to preference.
Absolutely. Yeah. No.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I nail on the head there with the video game stuff. Like, I personally, I'm a gamer my whole life too. And I've always worked in video games, whether it be as a journalist or as a community manager now, right, or over in the esports department, various different things. But it's always just really fun to see those worlds, see them come to life, bring them into these immersive experiences. And man, honestly, we could spend the rest of the show just listing off great games and just talking. I know we could. Maybe we'll do that for episode 3. Who knows?
Yeah,
I'm ready for it.
Just talking about games.
Episode 3, Ricco joins us to talk about video games. Evil Mojo Podcast.
Other questions. My apologies.
We'll make it happen. I am very ready to talk about video games. And like, so many great projects too. And I mean, like that's I think one of the cool things that I know Kevin, you really enjoy doing too, right? Is like helping for our Paladins fans bring those characters to life, bring them forward, and that sort of stuff, right? Get their personalities in the game, and also help drive the lore. I know is what we talked about on our first episode as well. But like, what from your point of view, Kevin? Like, what are some of those games too? I know you've been a lifelong gamer as well that have kind of driven.
Yeah. So for me, you know, I grew up in, you know, I had the younger consoles too. I still remember the GameCube. Obviously not the first console, but the chunkiness and the solidity and even the disc size. I don't know why that matters at all. But growing up, I grew up like through the golden age of PS2 as well. Ratchet and Clank, Sly Cooper, that kind of stuff was amazing. Kingdom Hearts, all that good stuff. And for me, it was always the story, right? That I'm being told. Like, the developers of the game are the ones who are telling the story, but being able to share that, have that shared knowledge with other people who may play the game, or other people who like the game, or like even the skills that we learned playing games was always just amazing to me. So it's not quite like I grew up like I want to be a game designer, but here I am a game designer, and hoping that I can bring some of that to kind of to Ricco's point about Paladins and growing up with different characters, or having them shape important aspects of people's lives. I hope to bring some of that in a clever game system, or a couple lines you wrote, or maybe the lore really speaks to somebody. And to be able to have somebody say, even to themselves, even if they don't at me on Twitter, like, hey Kevin, you did a great job, whatever, even to themselves, say like, this is important to me internally. for some reason, any reason, is what I strive for. And that's why I wake up in the morning. You know what I mean? that's my coffee,
here, dude. Listen, yes, I raised my glass.
Story.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
I got water.
I'll raise my Burt's Beeswax to that.
Oh, there you go.
Brilliant.
To what's readily available. Whatever works, right? We're what we got here. It's show business, right?
Improvise, adapt.
And I gotta say, serious shout out to the GameCube. That is like the only console that can be used as a personal defense weapon and still work. While
it's a bludgeon,
you take care of it. You can throw that thing out of a window and it would still work. You just carry handle it back in and put it on your TV. That's what's up.
I remember Need for Speed Underground. Boom, boom,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, this is coming on my GameCube. Can I play this song on my family friendly Nintendo game?
Yeah, right. Does Nintendo allow this? How do they get around this?
Oh, I know.
I mean, and also too, Ricco, kind of bringing it back to you, man. Like thinking about video games, anime. Besides Corvus, which we know you've done for us, right? What other projects have you enjoyed working on the most over the course of your career in voice acting?
Oh man, I feel very grateful. These last few years, I had a whole Toonami block that I was occupying. I was playing Nozel Silva and Black Clover. And the fun thing also, I should say, as a side note, as I list these characters, like they're all very different. They're very, you know what I mean? Which is really exciting. I think as an actor, I get like kind of giddy about the chance to portray all these different things. But Nozel and Black Clover, Taiju and Dr. Stone, Mirio in My Hero Academia, Kareem Flom and Fire Force, like all these really great titles that are showing up on TV. It's really exciting. Video game wise, I played Few and Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. We just released the dub for My Hero 1's Justice 2, so you can hear me as Mirio on that. I'm very pleased with how that came out. Especially in a fighting game, you know what I mean? To have like my character be like, power, every time I uppercut people. There's one line that Mirio keeps saying. He goes, because it's his teleporting move, it's permeating is his quirk. But he goes to the plexus, like to the solar plexus, and people abuse this move, so it's just like to the plexus. So people in my Discord and on my Twitch channel are like, "Oh, Ricco, were you planning on hitting that guy? Maybe to the plexus." Constantly, dude. But
your ringtone to the plexus,
bro. Yeah. Oh, in Smite, I play Achilles in Smite, which is cool. Fellow sister game over there, and and I actually in Paladins, I believe I am Dutchman Makoa. Which is really cool. I discovered he has his own like sea shanty that I want to cover.
Yeah. Oh, I love that skin so much. That skin is so good. I love Dutchman Makoa. And that's that. Yeah, now I'm just thinking of Plexus remixes. That's all that's in my head right now. Like those music remixes, where they'll go through and like dubstep Plexus. Exactly. I would listen. I'm here for it.
It's possible, man. I mean, if anything, especially in the pandemic, someone's going to make it. Someone's going to come out. Hey, listen, I got some time.
Too much free time.
I have a lot of free time and one song to make.
But yeah, to your point, man, I think I got. I feel very, very fortunate to have a bunch of games under my belt now. That and it just keeps going over time, man. Like I was saying, the XP keeps building, and other games. Oh, Borderlands 3. I got my my hot cup of talent here. I play Bo the Burger Guy. So when you get the burger gun, that's me, the quest giver. That helps you get the burger gun. What else? Yeah, man, it's super fun and exciting. So
yeah, that's so cool. And like going into all those different roles and stuff too has to be like just an absolute blast to go between all the different roles and build out all these different characters.
I should say though that it is, especially with voice work, like half the director. Because as an actor, I usually just get like a handful of lines, and I'm doing my best to like bring what I think is the truth to this character based on like a picture, and like maybe it's colored. You know what I mean? Like I try just to create something. But yeah, it's usually like folks like sometimes it's not even a sketch, sometimes it's prelay. But thank goodness for good directors like Kevin who come in there and help flesh out the world. You know what I mean? It's you guys, I for real, like that's why I've been offered directing gigs in the past. I was like, oh, I gotta, it's tough. It's tougher than you think, you guys. Like, anyway.
That's cool though, man. And yeah, I mean, honestly, we may as well kind of go into that process now, right? I mean, obviously, moving on to our dev talk segment for today, right? We want to chat a little bit through that sort of aspect from both your perspective, Ricco, and also from you too, Nico, when it comes to kind of creating a champion's voice in Paladins, bringing that to life and walking through that day to day, right? Because voice acting
want to transition?
Is, Ricco, I would love a transition.
We get a live transition. Let's do it.
I would love a transition.
All right, here we go. This is how we do it now in the quarantine times. Dev talk.
Perfect.
Oh my god!
Welcome to Dev Talk, everybody.
Amazing.
I have not been more happy.
All right, so Ricco's going to come on every episode to do the live
just
transition.
For that.
Yeah. We'll get a fourth frame like up above one of us, and Ricco can just pop up and just do the segment. I'm so here for it.
Yeah, just up there.
Just one of the corners. Yeah.
I want to make sure that whatever's going on in the
that.
background, though, I'll like live stream it from my phone. You'll see me like I don't know, just like random crap going on. I'm like, Dev talk.
Literally.
I'm sorry, guys. I have a prior obligation for the Dev talk transition. I need to take care of it right now.
I have an alarm set. That's right.
Yeah.
Every time, dude. I'll do it.
We'll just get
Dev
you.
talk.
We're gonna be like planning the shows, and everyone's gonna be like, "Who's this Ricco? Oh, he does our transitions. Don't worry about it."
Don't worry about it. It's fine.
But I guess going into that, walk us through, Kevin. When it comes to a character, a personality, kind of where does the team start with that process in bringing that character and personality to life in Paladins? Like, where do we begin?
So, we begin at the start. Realistically, actually, as a game designer, I actually come in not quite at the beginning. I actually come in maybe a little bit in the process. So we have super talented. I'll harp this, to the end of days. We have super talented artists at Hi-Rez and Evil Mojo, especially. I love working with them. So we go through a lot of iterations. So I'll use Corvus as an example, right? We have concepts, and then we have weapon modelers who end up coming in and kind of starting iterating on weapons, or character models who start iterating on characters. So we have a general idea, and a weapon could have like, oh, that doesn't need an extra spike, or that blade doesn't work, or that doesn't look right. It looks too much like a pistol or an SMG or whatever. Really, really cool. A lot more complicated than I can give credit to in the time we have. But so we have kind of a visual idea of what Corvus will look like, and then I, as game design, obviously it's a collaborative effort, but I usually take any one person will take point on any specific skin or character or voice pack. So I will try to write up in a succinct way what I believe to be the character that would best fit the lore and the visuals and the game and the tone of maybe the greater theme of any given battle pass or patch or whatever. And I will do that in a way that is trying to be succinct and trying to evoke a certain response or collaborative effort from the talent. And so I'll write up a short casting notes, maybe with 4 or 5 example lines, which often change from the original casting notes to actual recording. And then so we'll send those out. It's not quite as easy as like, let me just last name F on the voice actor phone book. Okay, Fajardo. Boom, picked.
The yellow pages. Just pull them out and pick one.
It's the yellow pages for voice actors. Just blind that one.
So, oh, sweet! It's me.
It's like the whole page is literally just Ricco. So it's just.
Oh my god.
Done. Not quite, but so we'll send out auditions. We and depending on the if we want a specific dialect or the difficulty of any different given role, we'll get anywhere from I'd say 60 to 130, 150 auditions, each one being between 30 and 70 seconds long, depending on how many takes, that kind of thing. And as a bit of an aside, It makes me some aspects of the auditions really make it tough for me and tough on you guys as well. So I hear some auditions, if I'm in stereo and I hear it coming out of one ear, or there are certain auditions that are super roomy, or it sounds like there's feedback in the background, I feel really bad, but it makes it really easy for me to not be able to pick up the underlying quality of the voice and the underlying quality of the character that they're trying to bring to the read. So that makes it unfortunately a little bit easy. And I try to give every audition as a decent amount of time, but it's a little bit difficult sometimes. But essentially, so I'll go through, I'll set out a chunk of time, mute everyone on Discord, music off, like headphones on in my studio. I'll listen to one or two, or it's audition time. Got to sit down, got to get it through. I'll listen to all the auditions, giving them as much time as I can. And, I'll narrow it down to maybe top 15, and then I'll narrow it down to top 10, top 3. I'll solicit some feedback from my coworkers and say, what do you think if we did, this direction with this voice actor? Like, that could be really cool, right? And the other thing, really cool, you want to read the take, have a take for the read that is in line with what you feel is being conveyed by the casting notes. But actually, some of the best experiences I've had have been voice actors or talent who bring their own flair. Obviously, they'll do the normal take, or what they think is normal take, and then they'll put their own little spin on it on another take, and do something really cool, which really brings out like, wow, I didn't even think we could go that direction. But you know what? That really fits the character I have in my mind, which is really, really fantastic. As long as it's not, 6 takes, like take 6. It's like, okay, all right. I have 100 others to listen to. I'm sorry.
Wait, but take 7's where I nail it.
Yeah, you finally get it at 7. I really feel like I'm homing in on this character. So I'll end up ultimately deciding, okay, this is the talent. In this case, for Corvus, it was Ricco. We think can really evoke that character we feel is going to be really strong for the game, and then we kind of set it up from there. And actually, I'm really interested, Ricco. Do you end up like spending any time studying for roles, or how do you decide how you're going to do any given like casting notes take for games or anime?
Let me tell you, man, every little bit of writing, anything you give an actor that gives them an indication to what this person is or who they are is like just ambrosia. Like the second you say, and also like character art, just everything is like helps an actor get into the pocket. So for me, like, if I had the opportunity to study a character for months, I would. Sadly, for voice work specifically, because the turnaround time is usually very quick, and oftentimes there isn't a lot of the materials available. You do have to, take the 1 or 2 lines of character description that you have and take your best swing at it. So and this is where I went to acting school for a very long time, undergrad and grad school. I have my own methodology in the way I approach things. But for voice work, I think there's the added pressure of wanting to bring out a fully fleshed out, like, no misunderstanding who this person is character in one line read of, saying, I'm going to send you into the abyss. I ask my mind, like, right away, like, you have to go context clues. So I'm like, okay, what is the abyss? I'm like, let me do, and I do research. I do research. I will go and I'll look up, for instance, Hi-Rez. Let me see Smite. I've worked on Smite before. Oh, Paladins. Okay, what's this? What kind of form? And I'm a gamer, thank goodness. So what kind of game is this? Okay, cool. So like, it's okay. There's King of the Hill. There's kind of Capture the Flag. So you also have like Free for All. What's the energy and the vibe that I get from this? What's the world that we're trying to build? Who's the director? What kind of like, I think oftentimes the most amount of work that gets done is once it's been cast, and then like Kevin and I get to go and work together in the booth on the character. But in regards to prep work as an actor, holy cow, I mean, the world's your oyster. I could be drawing from anything to try. And, I look at Corvus, I'm like, oh, he's got a little bit of a streak of gray there. He's kind of like Rogue from X-Men. Like, did it cost him life to like, go into the abyss? Whether or not I know that's true, I'm going to invest in it, because I think like, right. When you've seen, so I start building this world of what this character is, and I'm hoping that it aligns with what the writers and the animators, and the directors have in mind. because if it's not, then you can tell. But there's also like Kevin actually mentioned, which is a great piece of advice, I think, for actors out there, that if you do give a take on something that is what is described by the writers, it's only, I think, going to serve you, especially if you're a creative individual, if you think that the character might have a voice in some other way, to give another take that might not be what is expected, something that you think is what the character is, because I mean, you're the actor, you're an artist as well. Go in there. Like, you never know what can be uncovered if you don't give it a shot. So it's great to hear actually Kevin say that like, you can hear another take of something that you wouldn't think is the character. Do you know? Yeah. Because I think that is the actor's work. At the end of the day, it's the actor's work to travel through all that muck and mire of like, okay, this might be Corvus, maybe this little bit. No, that's not it. I notice he has these blades. I think of Corvus, and I also think of what is that game? Because he teleports as well. Oh goodness, I can't remember it right now. I played his first-person game, and you could throw his dagger, and he could teleport. And I was like, it reminded me Dishonored, because the character design a little bit was like Dishonored as well. And I was like, and I play a lot of video games. So with my other acting pals who might not have played video games, they might not have that distinction. Is it going to help me? Maybe not, because if I make that connection and I take a swing at it and Kevin's like, oh no, we don't want that, that's wrong, then I've missed. But you know what I mean? Like, so there's a lot of risk involved, but at the same time, like, how delightful as an actor to be able to like create this thing.
It's creation, right?
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Just building that from the ground. And I mean, like, that's one of the things too. I've always wondered, because I've never been in the booth, right? But like, after we've locked in our voice actors, so it's Ricco as Corvus, and Kevin, you've got the lines drafted up, and you know what we're looking for. When you guys are in the booth, like, how collaborative of a process is that? Like, what is that like? Kind of give us like the walkthrough of that.
So as you said, the lines have been drafted. It actually takes longer than you would think, because we go through multiple iterations. Like, we want this one to be funny, or we want to really lean into the hammy puns but we usually limit those to the jokes,
puns,
stuff like that, right? Look, puns is the only way I stay alive. I have been so much better recently about not filling every voice back with puns. The other designers are like, Kevin, if you put one more pun, like, you don't get to do voice packs anymore. So we hit that balance. Like, Corvus is a little bit more on the serious side, but we have some really fun jokes. So we have the script written up, and most of the time, and I've worked with a decent number of voice actors at this point for a bunch of different skins. So most of the time, it's kind of you both show up. You're like, hey, how's it going? I'll give you a quick rundown of who the character is in my head. But feel free, and I usually make it a point of saying, feel free, if you have a different vision for the character, to give like a different word or a different read or a different take, or what if we do this? Because as Ricco said, I think that actually really brings a lot, because I have in my head what I think they might sound like. Right. And if the talent can take that and run with it and say, okay, well, I agree with you, and I bet you it would be even more that way if it were read this way or with this inflection, then it makes firstly, it's more fun for me. Like, those are the sessions where I leave like giddy, like, let's put it in the game. I'm so ready for this to be in the game. But it's also easier on my end to direct, because if we have a mutual understanding, we obviously still need to, and we can actually go into this. This is to your question, Nick. Collaboration. But if we have a kind of a mutual understanding of the vibe we're going for, then we can kind of synergize and synchronize on that middle ground. We're like, I don't know if I like that read. Could we try it with this other inflection, or could we try? Let's remove that word that was a little clunky. And then Ricco will be like, okay, what if we do it this way? But yeah, you can speak on that.
What's delightful about this, by the way, is like, this is all. I think a lot of actors think that once they do the gig, it's done. But for me, at least in my case, like, it's when you're in the booth, once you book the gig, it's like, now the work is like for real. Like, I gave my best, take of what Corvus was. I'm sure I have it in my computer here, like the audition file, with like what I understand to be this person. But after 30 seconds of working with Kevin, I already have a different view of who he is. A more specific version. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like I'm like whittling away little bits of wood to carve out who this person is. And don't get me wrong, like I use the metaphor of like wood because it's like a stronger material, right? But like really, there's like, it's not, you don't want to come in and be like, this is Corvus. You're wrong, Kevin. This is like, I know who Corvus is, you know, like
I know who the character is.
Right, which is like there's I am the character. But there's this sense that like, you know, an actor wants to be both directable, but also like, you know, move with conviction. But I think there's a big thing to be learned about these small little micro things, the adjustments that we make, whether it's the switch of a word or a change of inflection, guys, like that can open up a character in ways that you wouldn't even understood. It's like, okay, Corvus's relationship to his father, right? Like we don't really talk about that too much. For the magistrate, like I will do anything for my family is what's underneath that for me. Do you know what I mean? Like there's something there. There's like, and under that, there's love. Under that, like that's my work as actor. But when Kevin goes like, actually, you know what? Maybe don't hit that so hard. What I can hear, what I interpret is like, oh, maybe there's a personal relationship with father or with friend or with nemesis that changes and ultimately changes Corvus's how he cuts through the world. Do you know what I mean? And of course, and then ultimately at the end of the day, it's how he interacts with the language and how he says the words. But even though we're approaching it from kind of what would seem like a very mechanical way of like changing an inflection or pitching something up or pitching it down, that reveals so much about how the character's point of view of the world and the people around him. Do you know? So it's like,
it really matters.
It's delightful detail work, but it's also like, we have an hour to do this.
Right. Like, okay, let's go. I like that's part of the joy for me. Like I love writing the lines because I love being able to have other people help me create this character. Like I think one of my favorite lines to write was like, stop dying, you fools. Right. I don't know. I kind of like it.
That's my favorite line.
But to your point, you know, it's really interesting. A line like, you know, I will do anything to save my family. If we put emphasis on anything, like I will do anything to save my family, is very much like oh, okay, like ooh, you know, or I will do anything to save my family. Maybe an uptick at the end is like you're a little bit, or Corvus is a little bit like nervous, or like, you know, I'm scared for my family. Like all that, like finding that voice is so fun, and the creation is amazing. That's right. I'm rambling because I get giddy about these things. But it's
no,
it's
dude,
so
I'm the
cool
same way, man. I get so excited. I mean, this is like what I went to acting school for, right? Is like we are as creators, right? Game designers, actors, composers, anything across the board. You know what I mean? We're trying to find the capital T truth, I think, of like what we see of this vision. And what's really exciting is when we all are working on something together and manage to like elevate it and clarify it and make it more specific to the point where, we get so effing excited because it's becoming what we're trying to do together. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it becomes clear, like, if I, you know, stop dying, you fools. Like you say, it's like, yes, that's it. I remember, you know, I hit the line and you're like, yep, that's the one. I was like,
yep, that's it.
Like, that's it. And the second you told me that, I was like, I see more of who this person is. Do you know?
Like, yes, right. Absolutely.
It's awesome to see, like,
but anyway, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying the building blocks. I mean, like, even just listening to you guys, you know, talk through this, right? Like what I hear and what I see and what the community sees is like that final product, right? But it's always interesting, like the blocks that get you there, right? Like we nailed this line feels good. Well, now that might change these other 4 lines and how I do these, right? And that sort of stuff, which is fascinating to me. Like I love listening to this stuff.
And the other thing is there are even a couple lines, especially in the joke section, where it wasn't even on my script. We were just having fun. We were just vibing. And I think especially, what was it? The I have the power of the abyss and the magistrate on my side, and then it was like,
and the magistrate on my side.
That was complete improv from our end, and I liked it so much when I got the audio back that I was like, you know what, that's going in. That's one of the lines. Yeah. So that kind of thing is a lot of fun.
Don't try to gank me. I have the power of the abyss and the magistrate on my side.
But to kind of wrap up the technical side of it, essentially we go through that whole fantastic recording session, ones I'm super happy to leave feeling like we got Corvus. That's what we want. And then it's touched up a little bit. We send it off to audio team who implements it in the game. And then the next couple dev builds, we have Corvus, and it's amazing and fantastic.
Yeah. It's awesome to see that come to life, and I think that's one of the things that I get to see too, and it's really fun to touch on as well. We don't necessarily play the audio until it's in the game, right? But showcasing some of those voice lines and building his personality as we're teasing these champions on social media is like one of my favorite parts of the job. I just love helping build that narrative up to where the release is finally there, and you see the cinematic, and it just feels really good. And I mean, yeah, it's like, oh man, this is crazy, right? I loved it. Corvus was so much fun. So much fun. I was giddy. Like, I remember like the nights before we're like scheduling all these things out, especially the cinematic trailer. And I watched it, and you get the goosebump line, right? And you're like, oh yes, they're gonna love this. I'm very excited. It's so great. And I mean, kind of going off of that too. I know we've touched on some of the other stuff you've done for us too, Ricco, such as Dutchman Makoa. And Kevin, I don't know. I don't think we could talk about what's coming next. No, we should probably wait.
I don't know. We could, maybe tease like something.
Ricco the Ocean Man or something like that. Like I don't know though. The show's next week, so.
Oh man, I wonder. I guess we'll have to see, right?
Yeah,
I guess we'll have to see. Maybe around July 1st or so. Maybe question mark.
Start of the month.
If you want to tune in.
What
else are you gonna do?
I'm a merman. Merman. Merman.
Well, I'm not the merboy. I'm a merman.
I'm not. That's right.
July 1st, guys. Update showcase. Hear more of that. July 1st. It's literally a week away. Next week. Tune in. Update showcase. It'll be a blast. You get to listen to some Ricco. We have an awesome new thing to show you guys. Don't miss it. And kind of going off of that, guys. That's kind of what we do here on the dev side of things when it comes to taking a character, bringing them to life, moving on, and getting them in the game and processing all that. And Ricco, Kevin, both, thank you guys so much for walking us through that. Like, it's always fun someone who personally doesn't know that much.
100%.
That's where it's at. I love hearing that sort of stuff because it's like all these different elements. And Ricco, like you touched on early in the show, right? I think it's one of those things where you don't fully realize how much time and effort from all these groups of people go into making a video game. It's multiple mediums, multiple creative arts, and highlighting all of that today with voice acting is just super cool. I'd love talking to you guys about this. We may have to do another one.
So grateful to be a part of it, man.
We're happy to have you, man. And speaking of, right, we always do this thing at the end of the show, right, where we touch on some questions, possibly some answers from our fans.
Q&A time.
Yeah. So we have two questions we're going to hit today, and let's go ahead and kind of kick it into our first one here, which is going to be for Ricco, and that question is: what was your favorite Corvus voice line to record from Moji?
This one was coming out from Moji Cores, right?
Yeah.
So
thank you for a good pronounced name. By the way, I've got to say that I butchered some names on the first podcast. Thank you for giving me an easy one. Really appreciate it, Moji. But Ricco, take it away, man.
Yeah. Moji Cores. So I kind of blew it during the middle of this while we were doing this podcast, but I did say, stop dying, you fools, because I do enjoy having that interaction with while you're just trying to capture the point or while you're trying to keep people alive. And as your Corvus, it is as if I feel it's one of the most applicable lines because you're literally dropping your wards, you're doing all this stuff trying to heal all of your pals, and they're HOTS, they're heal over time. So you're watching them almost die, and you're like, come on. So it's that embodies the play style. But I really like my alt line. I really like Corvus's alt line. Is it Gaze into the Abyss?
I think it's Behold the power of the abyss.
Yeah. The power of the abyss. Yeah, and then being able to float up.
Good.
So I know both of these reasons involve gameplay, but that's because I've been playing it more now, and you want to see the voice line in action of what's going on. So I gotta give it to Stop Dying, You Fools.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good line. It's a good line, and it's always present. Like, just, hey, stay alive. Stay with me, guys.
It's like, please, I'm trying to keep you alive. Stop taking damage. Like, stop dying.
You fool.
I was going to say, Ricco, as a self-proclaimed Corvus main, is that just what you're doing when you're streaming? You're just like, please, guys.
So I did a playthrough with some of my Twitch followers, my Twitch friends, and I was playing Corvus, and I was saying it. I was saying the voice line, kind of like when Matt Mercer was doing High Noon for Overwatch. Yeah. I was doing the same thing. Gaze into the behold the power of the abyss, and like, oh, what? How'd you ult twice? I'm like,
it's like,
oh, I love that.
They
that
don't
ult
even
is
know.
so good. I love that ult. Feels so powerful when you're using it. The voice line rings right in. That's good stuff. So, Moji, thank you for your question. Always appreciate it, guys.
Thank you.
And moving on to our second one here. This is a name that I am probably going to butcher. I'm just going to straight up admit it. I always try to do it going in. But we've got a question from Baptism Bidia. I don't know. There's a couple eyes in there. We're going to see how this works. But this one's, again, for you, Ricco.
Baptism by Ida.
By Ida. Oh, no, the Y's at the beginning. Oh, man.
Is it a
You guys just defeated me on that one. Thank you.
Nailed it.
That's, no. What would I do without you guys? I just butcher every day.
Earlier, this is an ensemble effort. We're working together,
Exactly.
right?
Teamwork. The power of teamwork.
That's right.
So, Ricco, this one is for you as well as a little bit for Kevin. So when looking at Corvus, what kind of personality traits did you associate with him? How did this shape your desired voice for him? This one is, again, from Baptism Bidia.
Oh, man. I pulled up a picture of him right now. He's just badass looking, dude. Like... And you can see all like, okay, when I first saw his character model, I'm looking at it right now. Again, there's that streak of like gray hair because I'm assuming the Abyss started to rob him of some life. He's seen some things. Do you know what I mean? Like this as young as he is, like I imagine he's really seen some stuff. Oh, there was that one voice line where it's like, when you stare into the Abyss and the Abyss stares back. Like I kind of try to put this 1,000-yard stare inside of it, like the absence, the nothingness. This might be well, I'll tell the story in a second, but like I see badassery. Like it's just everything about him is like angular and cool and slick, and like his deep purple eyes, like his dagger. Like I feel like he is filled. He is actually, I don't want to say tainted, but I do think he is full of the abyss.
That abyssal power, man. It's dangerous too. It's very dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
As
it's
we
like, do I really want to be
on.
Healed by this? Like, ugh.
Yeah, right. Like this is
for sure.
and Darius, and
is this
what? He's
kosher?
keeping me
Like,
alive. I guess I should allow it.
Dropping heals with the abyss. I'll say a quick story. I'll be really succinct about it because we'll have to tell it another time in more detail when we are at a convention together, perhaps DragonCon.
Yes.
Perhaps in the future when we're allowed to go. But in September, I had the fortune of being involved with a CPR incident that went well. It was a little gal who was drowning, and I did mouth to mouth, and my buddy did chest compressions, and we brought her back. She was like blue. I thought for sure she passed away, and we brought her back, dude. And what I remember telling myself while I was looking at her was like, she started to like, first she was non-responsive, and then she started to like, face started to contort, and like she looked like she was angry. And I thought to myself, yes, get angry. Anything other than the nothingness that you were before. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it might be painful, it might be sad, it might be anything, but anything other than the nothingness. And something, like art imitates life sometimes, and we can't help but, I think as actors, let some of our personal experiences get into the things that we do. But with Corvus, when I think about the abyss and I think about just the nothingness that it is, like the absolute sum zero and the power of that, because it is powerful, but it's also like, we are living things, and these are the no things. Right. Do you know what I mean? You mentioned Kingdom Hearts earlier. I'm like, are they the heartless?
They're the heartless.
But yeah, for real, man. And I imagine if I was full of that energy or I had it as some kind of essence, it would just like be void and monotone and sort of. So yeah, the abyss, man.
It's a crazy thing.
Scary
and,
stuff.
It's gonna stay around and it's gonna keep coming. Good old.
Yeah, it's not. But on the plus side, it can also heal over time.
Right.
Which is wild. So.
Right. Keep you up. Stop dying, you fools. Wait, we make up one part. So thank you again, Baptism, for your question. Appreciate it. And I know we had a lot of other questions, and unfortunately we don't have enough time to address these, but there was one about possibly Ricco reading some Corvus diary pages in Corvus's voice. And I can promise you we're going to try to make that happen. So stay tuned for that one. Paladins Game on Twitter. Stay tuned
for Twitter.
It'll be good times. We can do some fun stuff with that. Ricco has said he would. So, we're here.
Doing it.
We're here. Let it happen. We'll get you guys some journal pages in Corvus's voice. So, moving on from that, that's our question and answers for today, guys. Appreciate you guys sending those in. As always, just right before our podcast episode at the end of every month, look for a tweet from Paladins Game and be sure to submit your questions covering the specific topics we're on, just like today, where we had Ricco joining us. So thank you guys so much for submitting those questions. And we'll let you guys know when the next one's coming up. And speaking of, Ricco, thanks so much for joining us today, man. Like, really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on and 100%. Talking Corvus and everything.
You guys are a delight to hang out with. Again, like I said, this is the most social interaction I've had in a while. So I'm really excited to do things like this and hang out with the community. And on top of that, I have a tremendous amount of love in my heart for fellow gamers and creators. Like, I feel like we're more empowered now to do that, or asked to do that more, I should say, and are finding more ways to connect even while we're going through a pandemic. So, I'm all about it, you guys. Let's keep gaming it up and hanging out. So, Dear Diary, Father caught me playing with the abyss.
I made some friends today.
I love that. And, speaking of too, Ricco, for those of you that listeners, viewers that want to follow you and check out your stuff, I know you mentioned you're streaming. Floor to you, man. Do you want to plug anything? Your Twitter, Twitch? What are you up to right now?
Oh, sure. It's super easy. It's just my name, which I think is actually underneath me right here at Twitter. If you want to see what I do, I mostly thank you for but yeah, having my Twitter is mostly just like cat videos and retweeting that kind of stuff, video game stuff. Instagram, same thing, just my name. It's mostly parkour videos, and that's where I'll do like con announcements when those like start to come back up. Nice. And Twitch is again just my name. And I've been playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, got Last of Us 2, working on that. I legitimately will play whatever folks want to play, and I try to bring other actor friends on. I think we did Borrow Trauma, which is a submarine co-op game with Josh Greeley, Justin Briner, and Aaron Dismuke, who are my fellow My Hero Academia friends. So yeah, I'll play with fellow actors and play with the community. I just love gaming, you guys. Anything that makes us feel like we're on a couch playing video games together, that's like my happy place.
Yeah, that's shared space, shared experience.
I love that vibe.
Totally.
No, we'll definitely. I know what I'm going to plan on doing on Twitch. I'm going to go hit that. I'm going to go hit that follow button and check you out so we can talk some more video games, man. I'm all about it. I'm all about it. And Kevin, again, thank you as always for joining us, man, to talk through some of the dev side stuff today from the voice acting standpoint. Always happy to have you.
Always my pleasure. It is like the highlight of my week when I'm able to do something like this. So really appreciate it.
Awesome. And guys, that's going to do it for today's show. Before we sign off, I do want to let you guys know once again that the audio versions of this podcast are available on iTunes and Spotify. So be sure to head over to those platforms, give them a follow, give them a like, however they do it on those various things. Give us a nice rating. Let us know what you think. And we'll have that episode up to you shortly after the live video. We also have, as Kevin mentioned, the update show coming next Wednesday, July 1st. So be sure to tune into that. There's a lot of really cool stuff that a lot of people have been asking for. You might even hear Ricco. I'm personally excited. I think you should definitely check it out. So we'll see you guys next Wednesday. But until then, thank you so much for joining us on the Evil Mojo podcast. And we hope you have a great rest of your week.